Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Sutton United Talk Time on Podcast. This week I'm chatting to long-term and long-distance supporter Jared Hull, and I'll also catch up with our chairman Bruce Elliott. Firstly, his Useless Cities with their single Couldn't Ask for More. That was Useless Cities with their single Couldn't Ask for More. You can follow them on Twitter, which is @UselessCities, or as usual, it'll be on the featured artist page with all their social media links at www.suttonpodcast.co.uk. Now it's time for my first guest. So, welcome to Jared Hull, as I said, long time and long distance supporter. Hello, Jared, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Can't complain too much. Top of the league, second of the league, so the world's good, isn't it?
Everything's going well. Now, you're obviously going to be known to quite a lot of people, being, as I said, long time supporter. But for a few people that don't necessarily know you, could you do us your little introduction? Could you just sort of tell us, well, who are you?
I'm Jared. I'm a long-term Sutton fan. I've been supporting the club since 1994 when I was 8. They currently live in Swansea in South Wales. I travel as many games as I can, at least 2-3 games a month, home or away. Got a season ticket holder. I eat like pies. Some people know me as Pie Man, perhaps, but I was try as match day. You can find me behind the goal, shouting very loudly.
Well, as you say, you do travel from Swansea, so you're possibly. I mean, a few times when we've had some big games, we've had people come over from Australia who I think they beat your overall distance. And last week, I think we had someone come down near Aberdeen, was it?
No, so when Rory came down from Darlington, he tries to get about 7-8 games a season, mostly ways. I think he said his next game's Halifax away, but yeah, he came down from Darlington for Saturday's game.
Yeah, but overall, over the season, you must be our most distance traveller, a supporter, I'd say.
Yeah, because my nearest away game, my nearest Sutton game is Wrexham, and that's about 100+ miles away.
Yeah, I remember meeting up with you at the Leyton Orient game, and you'd had a 4 a.m. start. Is that about normal?
That's normal. Because I'm a bit tight-fisted when it comes to travel and plans, what have you. I'd rather catch the coach than catch a train, because trains are extraordinarily expensive, where the coach is relatively cheap. So there's a coach. Normally catch a coach about 6 o'clock in the morning to get to a game. So that means getting up about 4:30. Most Saturdays. Sometimes I trick myself to a lane and get a coach at 7:20, but then I'm rushing it to get to the game.
And as you say, you've been supporting for quite a long time. So what's that? 94. That's you're getting on for the
24 years. 24 years this month.
And you were at one time you were almost the youth element at Sutton. I remember when you were sort of in your teens, there weren't that many young kids around.
No, it's I mean, the club's a completely different beast than it was 15 than it was in 2-3 years ago, but definitely in the late 90s, early 2000s, completely different beasts. Known well back then for having quite an older support element. Quite a few old boys, especially standing on the terrace opposite the main stand. But it's one of the best things about the last 2 years is the increased support of all ages, especially amongst those quite a bit younger than myself.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken at length with lots of people, but it's got to be the season ticket value. I mean, said to loads of them that £20 to come and scream and shout every week and not get whinged at is less than £1 a game. It's amazing, really.
Yeah, I mean, £20 was up pocket money, that's easy to save up for, and it's up to the age of 19 now for a £20 season ticket. That's fantastic. I mean, back when I was younger, it was £25 if you're a kid if you bought an early season ticket. But I think the market is a lot better nowadays as well. I think the club pushes itself out a lot more than it did again back in the early part of the century and even in the late 90s. I think the club puts itself out a lot more does then, and which is good, and we're reaping awards off the pitch at least.
Well, it must be. You're right. It must be the marketing, because I genuinely didn't know it was that cheap prior to these offers. So it is all about how it's presented. One of your claim to fames, chanting, came up with one of the chants.
Well,
a few of them actually, I think.
Yeah, a few of them. Well, obviously the most famous one is the Dundo's gonna get you. We've for years trying to think of an appropriate Craig Dundas chant, and just the advert where Benny's gonna get you. So it's like Dundo's gonna get you because he's a big imposing guy who's chasing you around the field, and just caught on. I think one of the proudest moments is seeing that on T-shirt and sticker form.
Yeah.
So it's like yeah, that's me. I think I might have first started fan to cotton onto Deacon on Fire would have been scans quite well, and then see the video of like those people in the bar singing after the Leeds game was like yeah, again, quite proud. I was like a proud artist. Obviously these are probably chants that probably done by lots of clubs, but still kind of a proudish moment, I suppose.
Well, I was going to say that. I mean, we've there's been various discussions on different medias and stuff about some of the chants, and well, I am an old middle-aged git, I suppose, but some of it is I like the nice original ones that are more to do with Sutton than just the generic ones that you just fit in that you see on YouTube loads and loads of people doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason why the ones on YouTube, generic ones, are quite popular because they are easy to sing, they're easy, especially a large group of people, and because they are popular. I mean, people catch on. We talk about the on fire chant. The whole viral sensation of Will Griggs on fire. You see that. I remember watching Wales at Euro 2016 and people jumping around singing that song, and it was just like. And it's 2 years down the line, people were still doing it because of what we're saying again. One of those things. I suppose we had to be original chance at Sutton, but I mean, everyone tries, and fair play to, especially to the guys trying to go now. They are trying, especially with a chance towards Sutton, which a good. Although I do think Doswell still is wonderful, but fair play to them. Needs to try.
it does and it doesn't. You kind of.
To be honest, I mean, I made a big point of it, like not joining and what, just like, oh, terrible, kill it with fire, whatever. But towards the end of the Leeds game, I was joining with that chant. It was just like one of those things you just want to, join in. I remember watching after the Tranmere away game, and there was like watching the highlights the next day and interviewing Doz, and you can hear the kids singing the Doswell Wonderwall song. It's it does sound but at the same time it sounds impressive. It still sounds like at least they're trying, at least they're making a noise. That's a positive thing.
Yeah, I mean, for many years, I mean, I freely admit I'm one of those. I will stand and watch the game, and I rarely join in, and I'm very self-conscious, and I kind of don't do it. And it's like that with a lot of people, I guess. And it was a struggle for a long time for people to get the noise going, and it is much better than it has ever been.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I know there's various criticisms here, there, and everywhere, but to be honest, it's much better. One we'll probably move on to is the Bromley.
I mean, I think about this. Now, I've had conversations with a couple of kids who sing this, and like, yeah, I can understand where they're coming from, but for someone like me, we didn't play Bromley between when I turned 14 and next time we played Bromley, I was 22 in the league, and then we didn't play again until like a few years after again in the league. We just didn't play them at all. So Bromley are a non-entity as far as I'm concerned, and I can stand the last couple of years, like a bit of a rival. I can't see it. But then again, I remember a few years ago, we used to, especially when we used to play them, we used to sing a lot of anti-carceral and stuff during the games. It used to be, quite a lot of it anti-carceral and stuff. So I can see why they really care about Bromley, but it's just not something I could ever care about. I mean, even when we beat them at their place back in August, it was a good win because we went top of the league, but that was about it, really.
Yeah, I mean, even that Carl Shorten song, sometimes I hear it still coming out, and I'm like, do you know what? We haven't played them for such a long time. We're not playing them. I don't care about Carl Shorten at this moment in time. I don't care about Bromley because we're not playing them. When we're playing them, by all means, sing away. It's just the ones where we're not playing.
I think the older I get because I get into, in the 30s now, so I get into old man, old fart territory. I just don't think it's necessary to sing songs about rivals, especially during games. I don't think that's the kind of thing that would G out the players. A couple of people and I were joking about this on Saturday, that the reason there was a comment made somewhere that weren't enough people seeing against Maidstone or something, which probably affected the team. Yes, because not hearing how much we hated Bromley was the reason our players weren't G'd up against Maidstone. But I can understand. I can understand that someone's going to get quite a area on money, which is we're playing them, so it's kind of, you can see where it's come from. But
absolutely, in the build up, and it'll be on against Maidenhead as well, because it is going to be the next game at home. But for moaning, and I sound like I'm moaning, it is a million times better than it used to be, where it was silence. So younger guys listening, not my cup of tea.
Yeah, but 99% of the time it's great. 99% of the time it's great. I mean, there's sometimes where it can get personal towards individuals, which again I don't like. Perhaps because I'm just older, a bit more nicer, I suppose, as a person, but a bit more, But against teams, but it's great. I'm sometimes in the shower, I'm just humming those songs along. All my way to walk, I'm singing, singing along to the chances of walking. It's a positive, and it's just such a good feeling to go to Sutton and to hear people sing. Have you seen that guy on YouTube, that James Beardwell, that Wimbledon Town fan?
Yes.
That's what I watched. It was like, that was me about. Well, maybe not quite, because a couple of people like Sal and stuff joining as well. But I can almost relate to him how back in the day. But now you've got like loads of people joining in, and it's great. When we went to Leighton Orient, everyone was joining in. With China and stuff during the game. That was that's a positive. Again, one of the great positives I think of the last couple of years of Doswell Revolution, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And you actually, both Facebook and Twitter today, where it was 10 years ago today, relegation was basically confirmed. Yeah,
it's amazing to think how far we've come in 10 years. Yeah, it's completely butterfly effect. Change one thing, change everything. And Doz has been that change.
Yeah, it's, I was working out for something else, and we've had something like 4 playoff places. All right, we didn't do so great in the playoffs. We've had 2 championships in the 9 full seasons, and obviously this season we're either, hopefully, we have a championship or a playoff place. which is amazing when you think about it, that we finished in that position in 10 years. We finished in the top sort of 5 or 6 in the division. I mean, one of those years we just literally missed out on the playoffs as well. So 7 years, really, we finished in the top 6.
One of the other seasons we didn't make the playoffs, we got to the FA Cup 5th round.
Yeah.
Last season. Only 3 of those 9 full seasons, we haven't made the playoffs. And 1 year we just missed out on more than last week of the season. The other one got to the 5th round in the FA Cup. There's only been one tough season and then 3 seasons of greatness afterwards. So almost untouchable as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, it's been ridiculous the last 3 seasons. And I spoke earlier on to someone, and AB said a couple of weeks ago, it's been the perfect storm of the season ticket thing with the great seasons we've been having, and got the crowds bigger and bigger and bigger. I spoke to Bruce Elliott, and he was saying one of the things he's most happy with is we seem to have retained a lot of people from the cup run.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was saying, when you mentioned it to yourself the other day, one of the best things about the cup run, I think this cup run last season was far bigger than even the Coventry Cup run because of the exposure the club's got across the world, because there's so much more exposure via social media, it's more 24-hour TV. It's like the world's completely different. That's exposed people a lot more. I mean, and definitely seen the crowds jump so much since the cup run, and they've stayed, and they're becoming loyal. They're going to away games and stuff. It's a fantastic.
Yeah.
And one of the nice things I saw, I talk about long distance fans. At the Wrexham game, I was standing over shake Jenny Giraffe's hand, because I have a mascot thing, and I speak to a couple of people next to me. They travelled over from Italy for that game, and they've become recent fans. They've heard about the club again because of the cup run, and the team actually paid us in the '79 Anglo-Italian Cup run, and they emailed the club coming over to a game, and the club's treated them to a game, and then they come after their own back again. It seems like that. The exposure for the cup run plus the club's general attitude, I think, has been people staying.
Yeah, I kind of person I am. At first, when I'm sort of these new people coming along who obviously used to Premier League, and some of the little comments used to really just grate on me, and I'm like, I want to kill everyone. But you can see them coming back now, and you think, no, you know what, you're getting into it, you're buying into it, you're not just thinking, oh, it's little old Sutton. This is my club now.
It's definitely, I think one of the best things about the club, the way it also, we're getting all these Premier League fans, people who've been priced out of watching Chelsea or even Palace or Arsenal, whatever, who are coming to watch Sutton because they're from, they live close to the area, they're aware of the club because of the cup run, they're aware of, and also because of the way we market ourselves in the season tickets, and it's a friendly atmosphere, and they're coming back and they're enjoying it, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's the friendly family atmosphere. I've spoken to a few different people about different things, because it's kind of like yourself, sucked in. It tends not to be one of these things that you sort of pick up and wander off. You're in for life, really.
Yeah, it's just it's scary. Once you're in, it's 10 years ago, it would have been like, oh, why? But then next 10 years, I'm glad I'm hooked for life.
This is why, and some of those poor youngsters or the new fans who have only just been supporting the last 2 or 3 years, they could be in for a shock at non-league football or league football, even, hopefully.
I mean, there's always that fear that one day this could, we are on a good times, but we've got to prepare ourselves for football. There's always ups and downs of football. I mean, look, the classic case is probably Manchester United. I mean, look at all those years under Sir Alex Ferguson when they won trophies after trophies, and now they're looking up at Manchester City. They're one season they finished out with Europe altogether. It's just they're just. Some of their fans just aren't coping, and so we just got to a case of hoping these new fans realise that it isn't always going to be like sunshine and flowers. One day we might finish 10th, or finish just just a relegation zone and celebrate like it's the World Cup, winning the World Cup.
You might not remember or anything, but Man United fans had about 25 years of nothing before they started winning all those trophies. Yeah. So it does go. It goes in these little cycles.
Yeah, there's things that again, United, Liverpool again, dominating the 70s and 80s, haven't won the league since the year I started primary school. So
yeah,
Margaret Thatcher was primary school when Liverpool last won the league. That's how they'll go. Liverpool being champions of England,
Right. So just some thoughts then on the hard work we made of it against Chester. What were you thinking? What were your thoughts on the game?
It was unnecessary hard work. The first half, we were the dominant team. I think we perhaps could have turned the pressure on a little bit more, and perhaps I think the first half they were so poor. We just did what we needed to do in the first half. 2 goals. They weren't the best goals in the world, scrappy goals, but it is what it is. Got any goals to goal, I would have taken a scrappy 1-0 before, and hand anyway. Second half, I think once they got their first goal back, their heads picked up a little bit. And again, I think it was just after Jerry Collins, once after they got their first goal, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think, again, one of the problems we've had in the last, I've noticed that we generally tend to concede after we rearrange our formation a little bit, so we take time to perhaps 2 or 3 minutes to jet in, and at 2 or 3 minutes we can concede goals. That's cost us a few times this season. Fortunately, on Saturday it didn't, and in that Ross Stern goal, it was beautiful. I remember just turning around to Andy just before we scored, was like, Stone's had a great game today, hasn't he? He's been fantastic. And turn my head round, 5-10 seconds later, boom, back of the net. So I'm kind of claiming credit for that. But no, then the penalty, I haven't seen the highlights since. From where I was standing at the time, it looked like a penalty, but I gather from comments made since and from people who've agreed with me at the time that it wasn't a bit too, bit more of a dive than I first thought. So, but
generous penalty.
But I mean, it was a bit nail-biting towards the end, but we defended as a unit. I think last season we would have drawn that game 3-3. So I think that's the difference between this season and last season. Is we're not dropping points, so many points right in the games. If we're in winning position and then perhaps 2 goals up and concede a goal, we're not heads don't drop completely. We see the game out. And I thought that was I was thinking about, a lot about the York game last season at home where we were cruising at 2-0. They scored 2 late goals to get an undeserved draw.
Mm-hmm.
And Saturday was when we think a lot about that, but at the same then we just saw the game out, so you can see the difference in the side. One of the best things about this club, this team this season, is the way they fight to the end. I mean, how many late goals we scored this season? And again, we saw that fight, that dogged determination on Saturday, just to get the ball out, as far as possible, just to see the result out. Again, nothing fancy, no fancy down work, just get the result, and we've worked hard, and that's why we are where we are.
Exactly. And talking of late goals, we then all listened in to the Gateshead, and a horrible late goal.
It's the hope that kills you, isn't it? I mean, how many people thought before the game that Macclesfield were going to win that though? It's a hope against hope, and long when someone's like, yeah, I could do it, but when they did score, it's like, yeah, you kind of saw it coming. I mean, I wasn't listening in, but I was following their Twitter feed for most of the night, and just by comments people there, it's like Mac were on top of the whole game. It was just a case of whether or not if, and they got it. And fair play to them. I mean, at the start of the season, who would have said Sutton Macclesfield would be the top 2 in the last month of the season?
Well, I think someone actually tweeted a picture of the early season league table. I think one game, it was, and it was Macclesfield Sutton.
Yeah.
Top 2. I looked at it, I thought, I can't remember that, but it was just bizarre.
I remember when it came down to it wasn't because it was a midweek game, but wasn't like, but when it came down to our place at the beginning of the season, we got again 2 late goals to win the game, and just thinking that's a massive result. But at the same time, kick off the first day of the season, it's like, nah, I won't be Sutton and Macclesfield up there. We'll both be happy mid-table kind of thing. But fair play to both clubs.
I think it was a nice big joke on the opening day of the season because obviously we had the early kick-off and we went 1-0 up. We're top of the league. Haha, isn't it funny?
Yeah.
It's March. It's nearly April. It's not so funny anymore.
Yeah, the jokes, the whole everyone was kind of waiting for Tranmere to push on, and when they beat us 3-1 just before Christmas, thought this is it. They're going to push on now, but they just never have.
No.
I mean, Wrexham. I mean, obviously they're doing all right, but they're 5 points behind us. I mean, Wrexham again, they're a good team, but they can't win games. I think then they're good. They're big clubs and everything and all that, and they're good teams, but they just over the course of the season, just ourselves and Macclesfield have proven ourselves so far. Obviously, there's still 7 games to go. So a lot could change still. That we deserve to be where we deserve to be, both ourselves and Mac.
Yeah, and it's this weekend is going to be a big weekend. We've got a side that Doz is quite at pains to say is not a bogey side, Maidenhead.
I mean, even before Doz, we never really did well. York Road is one of those places which just never have done well. I think I can remember 2 wins ever. One of those was against Hazelhead. So it's never. But again, records are there to be broken. Hoodoos are there to end. I think this team is good enough to get the result if needs be. Well, it needs to be, but we can get a result on tomorrow. I think we're good enough to do it. If we focus, we'll do it.
Yeah, and then we've got the TV match against Bromley.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of glad this game's on TV just because I'm not able to make it.
All right.
I'm going to miss it because I've got work. I've got to be up for work at 6 for work the next morning. I don't get home until 1 most match days.
Ouch.
Go back to the travelling. It's to getting home at 1 o'clock. It's the killer.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll give this game get going to skip. There's it's on TV. Now I've just got to persuade the nice barman of Swansea City Centre that watching that Sutton versus Bromley on 3 o'clock on Bank Holiday Monday won't kill their clientele. I think again, Bromley have been looking too much towards Wembley as far as I'm concerned. They've got Wembley in the bag. They're not going to go up. They're not going up. They're not going down. They're thinking about Wembley. I think again, don't take it too lightly, but I think that's 3 points there. Potentially, if we don't take it lightly, if we treat the game the way it should be treated, that's 3 points.
I think it's only just last week that their faint playoff hopes were finally extinguished.
Yeah, I mean, I think again they've got to the FA Trophy final.
Yeah,
I mean their heads away. They've got a trip to Wembley, and fair play to Bromley. They're not they're a couple of similar sides to us, so seeing them do things in the league is also good. In a way to shock up the big boys, but they've got a trip to Wembley. They're not going to be so focused on beating Sutton. Hopefully, I mean, obviously it's a local derby, and it's going to be difficult. But I think they've got home one eye towards Wembley, but for 2 eyes on the league title, I think we should be getting a win there. And our home record against Bromley is actually rather good, so
Yeah, so hopefully we've come out of our weekend with a good 6 points, and with only 5 games to go, the run-in is looking very, very good.
I mean, unfortunately, just looking at Macclesfield's running, they've got Woking on Friday, and we all know that Woking are not very good. And they've also got Chester at home on Monday, so I can't see much. I can't see Mac not getting maximum points either.
But you never know. Chester might be buoyed by our game and think they can do it.
And Woking just might shock the world. Apparently Macclesfield have a very poor record at Woking, so
never know. That might have been the part of the master plan. The Chester game is give them this hope, so they go to Macclesfield and.
Yeah, again, it's a local derby as well. Mac for Chester's a local derby, isn't it? So, again, there's pride to pay for.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I'll leave it there, and we'll hopefully we'll all wave to you on the TV.
Yeah. And as we see ourselves as 3 lovely points on Bank Holiday Monday, that'd be fantastic.
That'd be lovely.
6 points. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you very much. Take care and safe travels tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Yes, thank you very much, Jared. Now time for a song. This is The Weird Things. They're from Croydon, and this is their song Dirty Dog. That was Dirty Dog by The Weird Things. Their Facebook page is at The Weird Things 1234, or obviously all their details and the video of that song will be on the blog post which accompanies the episode. Now I think it's time for my second guest.
Okay, so now joining me is our esteemed chairman, Mr. Bruce Elliott. How are you today?
I'm very well, busy as ever, but not too bad for an old person, thank you.
AB mentioned a few weeks ago, which I'm sure some people have heard, and a lot of people know, a lot of our older supporters obviously know, but some of our younger supporters wouldn't necessarily know that you are a supporter. Long before you came on the board, long before you were on the chair, well, not long, you were a chairman, you were a supporter first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely right. My dad used to bring me down to watch games in the 60s. People can work that out for themselves now. But yeah, I was a supporter, got involved in the Supporters Club committee, and then was asked to sit on the management committee of the football club, and it's all gone from there. And I've been chairman for over 20 years for my sins. So it's a full-time job, but then normal jobs you get paid for doing it, don't you? And as you know, Mike, everybody's a volunteer at Sutton United, and that's how we like it. And no airs or graces, everybody just cracks on and gives it their best shot for the love of the football club.
Well, yeah, this is it. This is things that a lot of people don't realise is everyone is pretty much a volunteer at the club. And we seem to retain a really loyal core support. A lot of the people I've been speaking to have been supporting the club for 20, 30, like AB and for AK, 40-odd years. How do you think it fosters the family atmosphere that people just feel so at home?
I think it's a huge contributory factor, to be perfectly honest. Now, everybody says that at clubs, not just football clubs, but clubs generally, continuity is one of the words that people always think is quite important. And I think we show that where we possibly can on the pitch, but particularly off the pitch, where, as you rightly say, there's so many people. You sit at a directors meeting, or you could sit at a management committee meeting now, and appreciate that probably 75% of the people sitting around the table were sitting with you 20 years ago. I mean, it's unbelievable, really, the continuity at the club. But I think that helps the stability of it. I think it's people who hopefully know what they're doing, albeit they're doing it as a hobby. But I think the continuity helps tremendously. And I think this is where a lot of clubs do lack that continuity. You go and see a club one year and then you don't recognise anybody a year later. And I think that's a shame. But we've been very, very lucky over the years to keep all those people involved. And that's, the club is about people, and people obviously enjoy their involvement and are very happy to give up their time to make sure that club continues.
Touching on one of the things I was going to mention, we've seen a lot of clubs, local clubs, go for the boom and bust over the years, and we've been, in my opinion, correctly and rightly, a little bit slower and just plodding along a little bit. And I used to always say when Kingston were doing so well, for example, everyone said, "Oh, you should support Kingston." I was like, well, I know my club will be there in 20 years' time at playing at a similar level. I know we're not going to suddenly do great for a few seasons and then drop for many, many seasons. Do you think that's a fair sort of assessment of the way you guys do things? You plan long-term rather than a few years down the line?
Yes, I think so. Most accountants are plodders, so I'll put myself in that category. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's exactly how it's worked for us. It's a stable situation. The continuity, as I say, is excellent. And I think we've tried to progress step by step. But don't underestimate how much of it in recent years has been down to Paul Doswell's involvement, because he's not just a manager. He's all the other things as well, wrapped up into one. And, he's been absolutely unbelievable for this football club. So, although there has been the stability there and the continuity, I think he sort of relit the fire a little bit. I think, when he came to us, and, my wonderful story, which is absolutely true, is he interviewed us. And as a result of the interview, he appointed us as his club. And, that's almost absolutely spot on as to what happened. And ever since, it's been a roller coaster ride. We liken it to being on a train, and that train's been getting a little bit faster every year. But don't underestimate what a huge, huge impact he made when he arrived and has continued to make in 10 years since he joined us.
Funny enough, that's what I was going to go with. It's 10 years ago. We were standing still, pedalling backwards slowly. And obviously we've appointed Dos. I wrote roller coaster and then I crossed it out. And I thought, well, it's not quite a roller coaster because it's a very upward trajectory that we've had in the last, 9 seasons and this season as well. We've had 2 championships, 4 playoff places in the 9 years, and obviously this year to go as well. So it has been just success after success. Have you kept up with all the players, the revolving door? Have you? How do you keep on top of that?
Well, you just do, don't you? I mean, I think it's settled down over the last couple of years very well. But, Dos is the type of manager who will sign a player and, if he doesn't do the business, then, he gets a fair crack. But, if he's still not doing the business for us, then obviously he'll move on. And, you can argue that till the cows come home. Why would you continue paying somebody that is not putting in every effort? But I think over the last few years, Dos knows his players, the research and the time and the information that he gathers about a potential new signing is not to be underestimated. It's a very, very thorough process. And, although they may not realise it, they're being vetted probably in many cases for some time before they're actually, asked if they want to join us. And, it's no different from the pre-match preparation that Dos and Bairdy and the whole of the management team go through. I mean, I've had the privilege of, standing, listening, particularly away games where, we're staying at a hotel or we've stopped off at a hotel before a game and, he says, we'll pop into the pre-match talk and, the detail that he and the others have gone to. They know every player on the opposition. They know, who the best players are. They know the weaknesses. And the preparation is just absolutely unbelievable for a club at our level. And that has to have helped hugely with the results and knowing the opposition. And, those days of, well, we don't worry about the opposition, we just worry about ourselves, I think probably are a bit antiquated.
This professionalism has made the last 9 years very much so, but particularly last 3 years, to coincide with the season tickets. And I think it was AB that used the phrase "perfect storm." We've done the season ticket launch. We had a great season in the Conference South, and last year obviously with the cup run, and this year with a real tilt at the Championship. Just been amazing. What were your first thoughts when someone suggested the season ticket being a very, very cheap price?
Well, there's been a few things over the years that people have suggested, and I've sort of thought to myself, well, I'm not sure about that. I think it was a risk, if I'm being honest. Tend to be a little bit conservative and, a little bit cautious sometimes, and I make no apology for that. But at the end of the day, it was, something that we sat and discussed for some time. There was a risk involved. There wasn't a huge risk looking back on it because we didn't have that many season ticket holders. And I can't remember the exact number, but it certainly wasn't anything like the number that we've got now. So we took a big risk, and that risk paid off. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But certainly in that particular instance, it's been absolutely unbelievable, the number of season tickets. And AB is the one who has totally masterminded that. We've had other clubs copy us, which is always quite nice, secretly. There's been 1 or 2 other clubs who've copied us. But of course, it only works if you have one person just banging on about it all the time. And this is where AB comes into his own. If you've ever watched him do Strike as a Key, you know exactly where he's coming from as a salesman. And those season tickets, you can announce season tickets at whatever price you like. But if you don't promote it, if you don't put it on the website, if you don't bang it into people and have a table for the Gander Green Lane entrance and then in the bar, if you're not banging that drum hard enough, people don't know about it. But he's done an absolutely unbelievable job for this football club in getting the season ticket sales to the numbers that they've been. And, it's hugely added to the atmosphere at games and, the peripheral spend of those people who maybe bought a cheap season ticket, but also then will come to matches hopefully enjoy the experience and inevitably have a pint in the bar or maybe buy a burger and, or a programme. And that peripheral spend has been good for us.
That's what it's about, getting the people through the gate, and then they'll be spending extra in the club shop everywhere, as you say. Just touch on last season, obviously, huge highlight, the Arsenal game. For me, although I started supporting the team in the year of the Coventry match, it was actually only just before the Coventry match, so I very cleverly decided that I wasn't a proper supporter at that time and decided not to go to it and let other people go. And then waited almost 30 years for another tilt at a top flight club. Just a surreal, amazing, very odd experience for me as a supporter, but it must have been crazy for you.
Yeah, I think that's one word you could use. It was. I mean, in a way, you're still pinching yourself. It was us, wasn't it, that happened to? Yeah, I mean, there were so many high spots. You actually end up sort of almost they're merging one into another, and every day there were interviews. There's press days. There was just so much going on with sponsors. There was lunches to organise. The list was absolutely endless, and I mean I kept going to work, but ending up doing sort of most of the days on football business, and it was quite surreal, really. The highlight for me though was the final whistle against Leeds. And that's because, well, for the obvious reason, but mainly because that was the first time this club had ever got into the fifth round proper. And obviously we didn't know at that time we were going to draw Arsenal. But, I mean, it was quite stressful. It was hugely tiring. There were some things that we got wrong, and we've held a hand up on that. One or two things weren't quite as we would have liked, but overall, I think, all of my colleagues did an unbelievable job, bearing in mind most of them have got day jobs and they're fitting it in around all their other activities.
Yeah, there were people taking holidays, their annual leave to come and do things. I think that was well known amongst obviously the core supporters that one of the big worries, I think AB mentioned, was the tickets for the Arsenal game. There was a little bit of worry that some people weren't going to get them, but everyone was generally positive, going, look, it will get sorted out. I know there's worries, but it's going to get sorted out, and it was. I'm sure, as I said to AB as well, if there was someone who hadn't had a ticket, we would definitely have heard about it. But it was work with the sponsors. I think some of the sponsors gave tickets back. Was that correct? Or
yeah, that's right. I had the unenviable job of being there on that. I think it was the Sunday when we were selling tickets, and we realised sort of halfway through we haven't got enough here. That was one of the mistakes we made. You do live and learn. We hadn't actually done that before. We'd done it for the Leeds and the AFC Wimbledon games, but it worked really well, and we naively thought that the same sort of rules should apply. What we didn't realise is that you expect it to be on a similar sort of level as the previous cup games, all sell-out crowds, but Arsenal just took it to a different height, really. And I was the one that had to actually say to the people in the queue, well, I'm sorry, but we've done 2 tickets per person. Now it's got to reduce to 1, and I luckily didn't get lynched. Have to fend off a few people, one in particular that upset me, and I gave as good as I got. But everybody else, I think was actually quite sympathetic and realised that what we were doing here is trying to be as fair as possible. Having seen that perhaps we hadn't quite got it right in the first place. But, I'm a great believer that if you get something wrong, you hold your hand up, you try and do something about it. We had that shortfall of tickets, and you're absolutely right. That's exactly what happened. We approached some of the sponsors, and, we managed to find, and if anybody to this day says that they queued up that day and didn't get a ticket, then that's their own fault, because, we made sure that everybody who had queued up that day ended up with the ticket that they were entitled to. But it did take some cajoling. It did take a bit of time to get it sorted, but I think we got there in the end. And you can only do your best, can't you?
No, of course, absolutely. It's
and I think it worked out okay, but we were never ever going to be able to satisfy everybody.
No, of course not. Everyone wanted. I mean, I literally had calls and Facebook messages and all sorts of things. People saying, "Oh, can you get me a ticket?" And I was like, "Yeah, I will definitely get you a ticket for the Boreham Wood FA Cup trophy match, which is in the same week. You can come to that. But the Arsenal match, no, you can forget it. There's not a chance. Even if tickets were available, you're not coming down here during the week, so therefore you're not coming down here at all, as far as I was concerned."
Well, I have this wonderful story, and this is a true story, and this is really going to show my age. And it wasn't me that took the phone call, but I always remember one of the guys on the committee when we played Leeds the first time. So I am going back a long way here.
Yep.
We lost 6-0 in the FA Cup 4th round. And basically, there's a supporter who phoned up and said, "Look, I'm a regular supporter. How do I get a ticket?" All the usual questions. And when told that it was priority for this section and that section, said, "Okay, fine. Thanks very much for all your help. And by the way, how do you get to the ground?" Now, that's rich, isn't it? Coming from apparently a so-called. So that's what you have to cope with. And I, as I say, I think in the end it probably worked out okay, but it was not without its traumas. And if we ever have that lovely position again, we will have learnt from that. But I think the nice thing about it, Mike, is that basically I hope that people feel as though we did our best and that we tried to satisfy all the regular supporters, all the supporters club members, all the vice presidents, all the people who've supported us. That was the intention. That includes sponsors as well. I make no apology for that. But actually what I think has happened, and I was saying in the Radio London interview I did the other day, that the nice thing about the cup run is that normally people just go back into their shell and you don't see them again. But I think one of the reasons why we've managed to sell our season tickets, get the average attendance up quite dramatically, is because I actually think we held on to a lot of those people that came to the cup games and they've stayed with us. And that's quite unusual for clubs like ours. Normally, if I may put it this way, they jump on the bandwagon and when the cup run's over, you don't see them again. But I think we've been very lucky that people seem to enjoy it. They realise that we did our best to satisfy all the demands for tickets. And, they've looked at it and thought, well, for £100+ I can have a season ticket to watch football at a decent level, when perhaps my first team, whether it be Chelsea or Fulham or AFC, are perhaps not always at home, and certainly in the Premiership situation are not playing Saturday at 3 o'clock. And I think we've been adopted by a lot of football supporters locally as their second team. We're not too proud to be their second team.
Well, we might be their second team, but what's happening with them is a lot of them are bringing their kids along, because you can go to Chelsea, of course you can, but you're very unlikely to be going to Chelsea with your 2-3 children. Whereas with us, you can bring the kids along, come in, they're running all right. They might be running around playing football, some of them, but they're there and they're watching and they've been part of the atmosphere, and they're the ones who are going to be saying, actually, Sutton's my club. So there is a longer term benefit to it.
Well, exactly. They are our supporters of the future. And don't underestimate where the 3Gers come in, because lots of these kids are coming down for the coaching courses run by Jamie, and they come and they play on that same pitch. And never underestimate that. What a wonderful experience that is for the kids and the mascots and everybody else. They're coming down during the week maybe and playing on the same pitch, and therefore very comfortable about coming to a first team game with their parents perhaps and watching the first team, and that seems to have worked really well. And I think that's another one of the reasons why we've managed to get the season ticket sales, the attendance is up, because people are coming down during the week and are thinking, well, we're part of this football club, let's go and see them on Saturday. And they're playing at a decent level, and in many cases playing ex-Football League clubs that lots of people have heard of.
Yeah, that's a definite benefit when you start playing against teams that, oh, hang on, I know them. But yeah, I've said that before about the kids playing on that pitch. That's their pitch. Whether they turn out to be players for us, for other teams, whether that's their pitch. They played on that pitch. They played at that ground, and it's just a little saying. I did a trial on the ground many years ago. I was never good enough, but still, I played on the pitch. That's my ground. So it's definitely a little seed for the future there. I will swing back to the pitch because I do have just a little questions. But I was going to say, there was a quote that I dug up from the end of last season, start of this season. And you said that our plans for this season was to establish ourselves and stay in the National League.
Correct.
How's that going?
Well, it seems to be going quite well, actually. In fact, I would go so far as to say it's probably exceeded our expectations. That was exactly what the aim was for this season. Second season syndrome. Doz was the first one to mention it. Always difficult in your second season in a new league, particularly, this league that we're in, the National League, where there's some serious full-time football clubs. Let's get to that 50-52 points. Well, I think we had them by about Christmas. So you always want to get off to a good start. We've managed just to keep that going throughout the season, and I think we're probably still pinching ourselves a little bit. But he's got a great management team behind him, and he's got a great squad of players. And although we, had a slightly larger squad, courtesy of the cup run last year, I think that's held us in good stead. But, you've got to look, and I think they played some of the best football I've ever seen from a Sutton team this season. And again, another reason why people keep coming back to watch them, because there's every chance they're going to see some decent football.
Absolutely, and I think Frakey said that for years and years. I was saying the 80, I think he said the 87, 88 team was the best team he ever saw, and he said I think this team has surpassed it, which is from getting on for 50 years himself as a supporter. So it's definitely the feeling amongst lots of people. Obviously, the pitch was a worry. Well, for us, I believe you guys had a plan all along, but it was a worry. But one of the things I certainly was most proud of as a supporter is most people, the worry wasn't just, if we get promoted, we'll use the pitch, we'll go to a grass pitch. It was, what's happening to all the other teams? What's happening to the community team? What's going to happen to the kids' teams, the academies? So for me, it was nice to sort of read that actually it's one club. It's not just we're worried about the first team and that's it. And it was first team supporters worried about all the other things. Did you get that feeling? I know you guys worry about it, but did you realise the supporters were having that as uppermost in their thoughts?
Yes, I think it's fairly logical to be thinking that way. I think one of the problems has been that we've had so many balls in the air this season. As the season has worn on, we had totally different conversations around the Christmas time, because we said, well, there's a long way to go yet. Let's just wait and see. Let's not panic. But at the same time, you need to be prepared. And there's been so much work going on behind the scenes from a lot of people, including Doz, to find out, what's on the market, find out what the options are. Is this something we could do? Is that something we can do? Looking at all those things to see what actually is going to be best for this football club. And it has been quite worrying. We've had various dilemmas. You want to win every football match, of course you do, but you don't want to lose what we've built up over the last few years. And we as a club must at this moment in time be in a totally unique situation in football in this country. No other club has had to wrestle with the sort of concerns that we've had about trying to keep our community, keep all the benefits, but at the same time, if that opportunity arose, to actually take promotion, because we may never have that chance again. You can't possibly turn it down. It would destroy the whole ethos of what we've been trying to achieve. So therefore, you're looking at what is going to be best for not only the first team, but as you rightly say, all the other, the disability, the academy, the girls' teams, the ladies' teams. The list is endless, and that's what we've built up. And we want to make sure, as far as we possibly can, that doesn't get destroyed if we got promoted.
Reading Doz's tweets mostly, suggestion is the hybrid pitch is sort of 25, 30 hours a week, and then there's a 3G hopefully in the Collingwood, is that?
Well, that's one option. I've told Doz that I don't think he should never have got onto Twitter, but that's another story. Yes, I mean, look, if we put down a hybrid pitch, which is the latest suggestion, it will qualify for EFL, and it may give us 20-25 hours a week usage. So that's a good start. We've talked to the council, who've been very supportive and very encouraging to us, but I don't know whether that would be a possibility, but we are in discussions with the council about the recreation ground. We've also talked to one or two other local clubs, well, actually not football clubs, but a school in particular. We've also talked to one of the colleges locally, and what we're doing at the moment is looking for what is going to be the best thing in the event of us getting promoted, for the additional hours that we need, whether that's on another hybrid grass pitch or whether it's on a 3G somewhere. We're not that far advanced. So we are keeping all the balls in the air, because it's essential that we try and get the decision as correct as possible. And obviously money comes into it, and there's all sorts of factors that come into it. But that is firmly the intention, and obviously we just need to know what those options are.
Right, and so there's no chance of seeing you on Twitter soon then, no?
Oh, good grief, no. I've got a mobile phone, though.
You've got a mobile phone, a new one, or still that same one?
No, I didn't say a new one. I just said a mobile phone. But, no, I don't think you'll catch me twittering. No. Well, I've done plenty of that in this interview probably already. But
Not at all. Well, thank you very much. I mean, it's really been enlightening. It's really, really good. And I will hopefully have you on again. Maybe as a fan rather than a chairman, and have you do that side of the interview, which could be fun.
I think they're one and the same, actually.
Well, you had your chairman hat on today, but we'll get you to take that off another time and say no, just the football side. But thank you very, very much, and I won't be at Maidenhead, but I'll see you at Bromley, I'm sure.
Okay.
And, hope you get a fairly stress-free few weeks, and then you get the summer to rest.
I think by your laugh, you realise that that's not likely to be happening.
Yeah, I know. I think Dave one year. Yeah, I think Dave put one year all the things he was doing through the summertime, and it went on the off season, which got a nice little chuckle a few times from people as well. So
I think there is a body of opinion, and it's probably not far out actually. That it's almost as busy, if not busier, during the summer sometimes than it is during the season. Once the season's set up, it sort of tends to roll on a little bit, but we'll see. Look, it's exciting times, isn't it, for the club, and obviously if people are enjoying it, then that's what it's all about. That
may have been a little bit behind Doz's tweets about the pitch, of people sort of worrying about, what are we going to do, what's going to happen. It's like, look, stop, there's plans, don't worry about it, stop worrying, let's start enjoying ourselves, because it's in our nature to be sort of pessimistic a little bit, and it's a case of no, let's just enjoy this. It may, as you say, never ever happen again, so let's enjoy it while we've got it, and the last 7 games, let's really push on and hope for the best.
I agree with that. Having said that, we've been quite conscious of wanting to make sure that when we do give out information, that 5 minutes later it's not going to be redundant and changed again.
Yeah,
it's been happening over the last few weeks. Almost every day there's been another idea, another possibility that we've had to investigate. And I think that's why, if there are a few people thinking, well, they've been a bit dilatory, or more dilatory than normal in giving out details and keeping everybody up to date, it's been purely and simply not that we're trying to keep anything secret, but it's just that at every turn it keeps changing. And, in the end, people would say, well, look, I'll tell you what, don't keep putting out too much information. When you know what's going on and it's reasonably definite, then make an announcement. And I think that's what we've been sort of hoping to get to, that situation. So
thank you very, very much.
No problem at all.
Take care.
Yes, thank you indeed to both Bruce and Jared for their time and their thoughts. Also, thank you very much to all the artists who've allowed me to use their music. As always, it's very much appreciated. If you've enjoyed any of it, please do support them in some way. You can find all their social media links on www.suttonpodcast.co.uk, and then the featured artist section. Before we finish up today, I'd just like to say congratulations to our Sutton United Hunters community team who've reached an FA People's Cup final. In a very rare case of forward planning, I'd actually arranged for Steve King to be on the show next week, so we should be able to talk about that fantastic achievement. Well done to all involved. To play us out today is Scott Swain with his single It's Too Late. You can find out more about him at scottswainmusic.com, or as usual the information will be on the website. Safe trip to anyone who's travelling to Maidenhead tomorrow. I hope you bring back the 3 points, and I will see you at the Bromley match. Take care. Bye bye.
It's too late, could have done. Anyone else falls short of salvaging the damage that's been done. Outrage, the damn thing's wrong. Oh, tragedy don't need misery, so put those fists to bed. In the meantime, wait, see those walls come crashing down around us. So Paris, you're useless now. Because of Troy, now Venus is dead. Now Venus is dead, and now foreign subcultures blinds. In the underground there is no light, so Morpheus moves on. Recoil, withdraw, where is the animal? I cannot take what we cannot fake. Mon papillon, pourquoi? In the meantime, wait, see those walls come crashing down around us. So Paris, you're useless now. Because of Troy, now Venus is dead. I swear by the cross, I'll get my revenge. I'll get my revenge, yeah. Too late, could have done. Oh, that's a face which sunk 1,000 ships. No vessels will return. In the meantime, wait, see those walls come crashing down around us. So Paris, useless now. See those walls come crashing down around us. So the waves will never fly again around us. So whoa, 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 whoa.